In my 18s, convinced my 24-year-old sister to break up with her 29-years-old fiancé who is a complete asshole. My parents and brothers now hate me, and after a big fight, they basically kicked me out and said they don't want me in their lives. My sister reciprocated by doing the same to them. My sister was set to marry a guy who was a complete douchebag. He seemed like a nice catch to any outsider. He was tall, handsome, very confident, a doctor, basically the sort of guy any woman would swoon over. Unfortunately, he was a sociopathic, unrepentant narcissist devoid of any empathy who would take out his anger on anybody he felt beneath him and seemed to enjoy doing it. You know how basically they say, don't look at how your partner treats you, look at how he treats others, and that's how he'll eventually treat you. My sister didn't pick up on that. I picked up on it early. This guy was really mean, would berate and insult people for the smallest thing, and would lose his cool with anybody who looked at him the wrong way. He started doing it to me, and I told my sister early on this guy's an asshole. She was like, nah, you two will eventually get along. You just got off on the wrong start. I told him I've seen him do that to other people, but she seemed to think, oh, but he's nice to me. I'm the special one. Maybe I can change him. Or I have no idea what she was thinking. After about 2 years together, when they were engaged, cracks were evident. My parents loved him. His dad and my dad go way back. They both went to the same medical school together and have been close friends for decades. Her fiancé is also good friends with my 2 older brothers. After 2 years, my sister was realizing this guy was an asshole. He's always been an asshole, and he won't change. There was a really painfully obvious example one day when we were having dinner, and my sister's fiancé and my dad were having a discussion about something political. My sister tried to offer her opinion into the discussion, and they both snickered. Then this guy just started berating her and ripping into her in front of everyone, making her feel this small. I could sense her pain. She was just quiet and just sat there taking it. I was thinking, what are you doing with this guy? He has no respect for you. He has no love for you. Another time our family was at this dinner function where a lot of big people were around. My sister's fiancé completely left my sister alone at the table with me and was sitting at this other table with 2 women, very obviously flirting with them semi-drunk. He just left her all alone at the table. I asked her what was wrong. Why was he ignoring her? She told me they had had an argument earlier, and this was his way of punishing her. You see what I mean when I say this guy is a complete sociopath? My sister and I are really close, and even though I'm younger by far, little brothers aren't devoid of wisdom, and I've been urging her from day one to break up with this guy before she gets in too deep. Well, now that she'd spent 2 years with him and was engaged, she was obviously in too deep. And she used to tell me about all the outbursts he has, how he treats her with no respect. We often had long discussions, just me and her, where she'd spill open like a can of beans and just divulge all the bullshit that he's put her through recently. Sometimes she'd cry, and I'd be there to help her out, but she still seemed to want to stick with him. She actually convinced herself that he loved her behind all that horrible treatment, and couldn't pull herself to cancel the engagement, what with our parents, his parents, everyone counting on it. She knew they'd all say she's crazy, turning down this smart, handsome doctor. Who does she think she is? I kept urging her to break up, but she stuck with the he'll change, or he loves me deep down excuses. It all came to a heads when one day she very publicly exploded at him. We were having a huge dinner, both sides of our families, and I was sitting next to him. He kept bullying me the entire night. Move your elbows over, couldn't you wear something a bit more presentable? Stop sticking your hand out like that. It's rude. Don't you think you've had enough of that? If I asked him to pass a bowl or the sauce or something, he'd hand it over, but then pull away and be like, say please, say thank you. He was smiling the entire time, laughing. My 2 older brothers were also snickering. They didn't seem to mind this guy was publicly bullying me and having fun with it. He and my dad started having one of their conversations again, and my dad started airing out all his general frustrations and disappointments regarding me, and they started both talking about my life openly in front of me. Her fiancé then turned to me and started openly lecturing me, and when I tried to ignore him, hey, are you listening to me? What's the matter with you? Your dad never taught you any respect. My sister just then basically exploded. She was sitting at the other side of the table, guessing she didn't want to be near him, but she was watching what was going on the entire time. She just stood up and completely exploded. It was horribly frightening and scary. She started shouting at him, leave him alone. He hasn't done anything to you. Why are you picking on him? Just leave him alone, etc., etc. I'd never seen her shout like that or explode like that in my entire life. It was absolutely terrifying. We were all stunned silent. She had tears in her eyes and ran upstairs crying. I wanted to go upstairs to speak with her and comfort her. My dad was like, "Where are you going?" I told him I just wanted to see how sis was doing and check up on her. He was just like, "No, you stay here. You stay seated." So he made me stay seated until the end of the dinner. For hours my sister was up there. I didn't even know how she was. My dad or mom didn't care. My two older brothers didn't care. I had to wait hours till everyone left before I could slip up and go talk to her. She was an absolute mess, crying, mascara running all down her face like Darth Maul. I told her she has to end this. She's going to jeopardize her entire life if she continues with this guy. She has to do the painful thing now and rip off the Band-Aid. I told her, "You might think it's okay if he just does this to you because you can take it. But do you really want to bear his kids? What if you have his kids, and then he starts treating them the same way?" She finally agreed with me and said she would end their relationship and break up. It was the only option. I just asked one thing, that she doesn't tell anyone that I convinced her to do it, because they all already seem to have it in for me enough already. Well, the one thing I asked her to do, she couldn't hold up her end. She still somehow let everyone know that I was the one who so graciously helped her make the right decision. Of course, this immediately made everyone hate me. Aside from my dad occasionally going off at me and shouting, it was mostly just the silent treatment and people giving me glares, which was easy enough for me to bear. My sister moved all her stuff over the next few days out of her fiancé's place back into her own apartment, which apparently she's gonna live in indefinitely now. Her old room in our house has been converted into a billiard/pool table room anyway. My dad and brothers were making my life hell for me. They blamed me for everything. My mom was occasionally nice to me, but she's nice to everyone. I could feel her disappointment with me ran very deep. She didn't offer any words of comfort or advice, even though she knew my dad and brothers hated me right now. My brothers basically flat out refused to talk to me aside from a few sentence words here and there. They didn't want to engage with me on any level even when I tried to start conversations with them. My dad I just tried to avoid so he doesn't have an angry outburst. It all erupted eventually into a huge fight between me and him. He was just shouting at me on and on and on, telling me I was a pathetic loser, disgusting. My brothers told me how much they hated me. My dad kept saying, "It's not enough that you ruin your own life and turn yourself into a failure. Now you have to drag your sister down too and ruin her life? Why do you hate everyone and try to ruin our family?" No matter how much I tried to explain how this guy wasn't a good guy, they seemed to think it was just a personal vendetta I had against him. My brother told me that I didn't deserve to have my sister as my sister. I told him to go fuck himself. My dad was like, "What did you say?" I told him he could go fuck himself as well. Admittedly, I lost my cool after hours of all of them attacking me, and I shouldn't have said that. My dad absolutely lost it with me and told me to get out of his house. He never wanted to see me ever again. I tried to apologize. He basically just told me to get out, even though I was on the verge of tears. I left the house and they locked the door behind me. I called my sister. She came and picked me up and drove me to her place where I explained to her everything that had happened. She told me she'd call them the next morning and talk to Dad once he'd cooled down, and then he'd be happy to take me back. I was still kind of teary, and she comforted me and told me I shouldn't hate myself or take too seriously what my dad says, and I had been the only one brave enough to convince her to do the right thing. Her place isn't big, but she let me stay there. Her double bed is just wide enough for 2 people, but it was cozy, so we slept well and fine, and the next morning she called up my parents' home. She wanted to try to talk to them reasonably and see if she could make amends and get them to accept me back. She told me to wait in the bedroom while she had a really long conversation with my parents over the phone. It went well over an hour, and there was a lot of shouting. She told me she was stunned and she had spoken to both our parents and our brothers too. She said she couldn't believe it and was appalled at what jerks they were being. They said they were serious about not letting me back into their home no matter how much she pleaded with them, and had said she had to go pick up my stuff from my parents' house. My sister drove over there and picked up whatever stuff would fit in the car. I didn't have that much aside from my laptop, books, and clothes, and brought it back. She herself seemed horrified at the way they were acting and seemed to be barely able to believe it. She tried calling them again later and the next day again. Even though they had calmed down, they were still adamant that I couldn't return no matter how much she tried to reason and plead with them. She eventually got pretty angry with them too. They were seriously trying to cut me out of their life. My sister told me as a result, she was going to cut the rest of our family out of her life. I told her she doesn't have to do that. She told me she does have to, and she wants to. She said she was permanently cutting off all relations and contact with our father, mother and both brothers until they apologized for the way they treated me and accepted me back into their family. I told her she doesn't have to do that. She insisted it's the least she could do. Instead of making me feel good, it just made me feel worse and more guilty, like I was responsible for the permanent fracturing of our family. So now my sister has completely cut herself off from the rest of the immediate family and cut them completely out of her life. She told me I'm welcome to stay with her and live here indefinitely, as long as I want. Even though I barely have any money and I'm a full-time student, so there's not many ways I can compensate aside from doing chores. She said now that she's actually seriously completely cutting her family off. She'd like to have the one remaining family member close by. So here I am now. I honestly feel responsible for this whole mess of a situation. I think it's good that I helped my sister get out of that horrible relationship with that awful guy, but now look at the fallout. I'm cut off from the rest of the family. They hate me and don't want anything to do with me, and I'm not welcome back there. My sister has done the same to them, cutting them all off. She said even for the rest of her life, if need be. It all feels so horrible and terrible. I didn't want it to end up like this, our family permanently fractured apart and everyone hating each other. I just want to make peace for the family and for everyone to love each other again and get back and forgive each other. I really wish there was something I could do to reconciliate them, but it seems so unlikely, especially since nobody seems to want to, and I'm at the center of it all. Any ideas for what I can do to help heal this huge rift and reconciliate my family? Or should I just leave things the way they are and get on with my life, for better or for worse? Nothing I can do to help mend the situation? Sister was engaged to a massive narcissistic douchebag who my dad seemed to really like. I convinced her to break up with him. Now my dad hates me and blames me for everything. My two brothers also weren't too happy with me, and neither was my mother. It all ended up in a huge fight, and my dad permanently kicked me out of his house and said he doesn't want to see me again. Now I'm stuck staying with my sister. She called them on my behalf to try to reconcile us. Instead, she ended up saying she's cutting them out of her life and never wants to see them again until they apologize for the way they treated me and make up for it. I feel horrible and partly responsible for this whole mess, but I just wish there was something I could do to help mend the situation. What you think about this story? Write in the comment your opinion. On my channel, you can watch other revenge or cheating stories. See you soon, my dear viewer.